Hi, I'm Caroline,
And I'm Megan,
and this is the Songwriter Diaries.
a podcast by songwriters for songwriters.
Oh, hello. We are so excited to have Anna Vaus on the podcast today.
Woo!
Woohoo! Thanks for having me.
Yes. So, can you just start by introducing yourself and sharing how you got your start in the music industry?
Yeah. So my name is Anna. I grew up in San Diego, California, and
Love it.
the best.
The best.
And I grew up just like around music. So when I was growing up, my dad was a children's country artist. And he went by the name Buck Howdy, and it was very like hee-haw-esque. Like his songs were like s'mores, and My Favorite Kind of Bugs Are Dead was the name of like very like camp, honestly,
Same.
very trendy. But yeah, so I was around that, and then my mom was a videographer. So I just was like in this world of like when you're bored, you're not going to go play a video game, like go write a song or like go like film a little movie and edit it in Final Cut Pro or whatever. And I had a lot of feelings as a middle schooler, so I didn't really know what to do other than like channel that into creating things and especially writing songs. And when I got to starting to think about like college and the future, I was like, well, how do I do this and go to college? Like my family wants me to go to college, but also like do songwriting and my artistry. And I found Belmont University in Nashville and went there, and I got to literally, my major was songwriting. So I studied that, and then my junior year, I won this like Miranda Lambert scholarship at Belmont, which was a really big deal for
Oh
me.
my gosh.
And then signed a publishing deal pretty shortly after that, and kind of just got thrown into like what the music industry is to me now. If you asked my 11-year-old self, I probably would have said I've always been in the music industry because I was like, I'm gonna do this thing and it's gonna be great. But
Yeah.
now I feel like, okay, like I'm in it a little more now. So yeah.
So,
Wow.
are you still with the same publisher that you signed with your junior year?
I'm not.
Or
I was with them for about 5 years, so for a long time. And then I just about a year ago signed with Big Machine Publishing. So that's kind of new, but
Nice.
it's been incredible.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how did you balance being signed with a publisher and school? Like, were they pretty flexible with that at Belmont? Because obviously they want you to succeed and
Totally.
get signed. And
Yeah. So what was nice is that I had gotten like most of my general education classes out of the way early in my college career. And then by the time I was starting my senior year and starting with this publishing deal, I was in like all songwriting classes. So my professors were like, do what you have to do, like show up to class and do the assignments like you haven't graduated. But they were very understanding if I had a really important write or something like that was like, okay, you can skip this class where we write songs to go and write a song.
Nice.
The only class that I had that was a gen ed was biology, and I had a bunch of freshmen because it was like, entry level class. I just didn't take it my freshman year. I'm not sure why. And oh my gosh, it was like almost the death of me. Like we were making like pipe cleaner like nucleuses, and I was like, what am I doing with my life right now? But we passed the class.
It's crazy,
Thank
the
God.
classes they make you take.
Yeah.
I'm like, when am I ever going to use this? I had to take an anthropology class where we looked at it was a cool class, I'm not gonna lie, but we had to look at a bunch of old skulls and like models of skulls of past versions of
Yeah.
the human skeleton and like all this stuff and identify them. And I'm like, this is such a niche thing to know
Yeah.
that I am never going to need knowledge for.
Okay.
Like,
Totally. I have determined, because I've thought a lot about this actually, like that the college classes that we have to take, I had to take one that was spirituality of world religions. And we had to go to a different house of worship every week for class. So like one day we were in a Buddhist temple, and one day we were in a Presbyterian church, and one day we were meditating like with this like Tuesday night like Hinduism, like it was just like dive right in. And I was like, okay, maybe this isn't about the exams. It's so much more about like the experience I'm getting, like
Yeah.
pushing through a class
That's
where I'm not
sick.
super interested, but like, oh my gosh, my reality is not my own real, like everyone's reality, I guess, that I thought. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've
Hmm.
determined with college classes. I'm like, it's about, I think, world experience in like, I'm not meant to do math,
Yeah.
but now I know I'm not meant to do math.
Being signed to Big Machine, what does your day-to-day songwriting routine look like?
So pretty much most of my writes start at 11. So I wake up in the morning. I like usually will have coffee and I on my very best days, I will get some exercise in and do some journaling because I feel like it really helps me in the writer's room.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then being an artist also, that time early in the morning is usually spent like sending emails or working on content. And then 11 a.m. hits and I look at my Google Calendar and I share it with my publishers and they've put in like here's who you're writing with, here's where you're writing, here's like some targets to write for or like a little bit about the writer, so it just depends on the day. And then I'll go into either a studio or a publishing house and write a song with 2 to 3 writers, usually like put a vocal on a track at the end of the day, and I'm home most days by like 4 or 5. Like it's pretty quick, which is crazy. I was
Yeah.
writing the other day with someone and we were laughing about like how like short the hours are as a songwriter, but you come home and you're like, oh, I'm exhausted. It's like you sat in a room and talked about your feelings for like 4 hours. How are you exhausted?
Yes.
It's like you wouldn't understand. But yeah,
Yeah.
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 No, yeah, that's literally so exhausting.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
It's like kind of being in therapy for like 4 hours.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
so exactly, exactly. So
Yeah, totally.
that's kind
Yeah.
of a typical day. And then like usually I'll try and go out to like different events and stuff and just support friends who are playing writers rounds or um I don't know, drink a beer at Red Door is always a vibe on a Wednesday night sometimes. So
And so when you go into a co-write, do you know who you're writing for? Like, do you have an idea of the artist you're writing for? Is the artist in the room or is it you're going to pitch the song to another artist?
it depends on the day. I like in general, I feel like the Music Row community knows like here's who's going into the studio this week. Like here's what Luke Combs is recording or what kind of songs he's looking for. Here's the day that he goes in with this producer. Um, but I would say it's 50-50 of like going in with other songwriters and just writing a song and then hopefully it getting pitched to Luke Combs, Keith, who's to say? And then the
Yeah.
other half is being in the room with an artist and trying to write for their project, whether they're like, I'm going into the studio 2 weeks from now, or they're just like, I don't really know what the plan is right now. I just want to write a bunch of songs and get some really good ones.
Yeah. And are you ever that artist in the room? Like when you go to co-writes, are you ever like, I want to write for my artist project, or do you prefer writing for your artist project solo?
I go in seasons, I feel like. I have times where
Mm.
I go in and I'm like, I just need help. Like I can get into a rut, like with anything that we do, like where I pick up my guitar and I go to play the same chord and I go to sing like the same words and it's sad and I'm like, okay, I need like just a sounding board and like other people's creativity to help me tell my story. Um, so yeah, sometimes I'm that person and then other times I'm just like in a groove, I guess, of really knowing like what I want to say, what I'm feeling, like what I think musically would translate with the direction of my project. And it just goes back and forth between those two.
So, how do you approach editing a song? Like once it's kind of reached its creation
Yeah.
form?
I'm not the biggest editor of songs, and I have friends that are. And I could probably, it probably would be like good for me if I was. Um, but when I do, I think I just have to like accept that like I'm in the space of like throwing paint at the wall and knowing that like nothing I change has to be a permanent change. Like I can always like go back in and fix it if it doesn't feel right. I get very hung up on like the first version of something, like same with demos. Like I'll go to record a song that I have a demo of and I'm like, but I love this part in the demo. And my producers are like, cool. I mean, we can beat it. And I'm like, but did we beat it? Like I missed that. Like I just get really used to stuff. But yeah, so I do it delicately, I would say.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think it's so hard when you do something the same way for so long too. Like
Yeah.
you're practicing and then you do the demo and then it's like someone comes in, they're like, we need to change it. It's like, no, this is the way I've done
No,
it.
yeah.
Sticking to it. Like,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, yeah. I can be a stubborn creative person for sure. And I think I've finally reached a point in my life where I'm letting that go a little bit. But yeah, I mean, change is good.
Yeah, it's hard. Also, I realized I said, oh, yeah, as in I was like, oh, yeah, Anna's a stubborn creative person. I meant it for me.
Yeah. I got that vibe.
I was like, to clarify, I'm saying, oh, yeah, because we are also stubborn creative people. So we're just like, we relate to that. And speaking of, so I know that you work with Luke Laird, right? And I was curious what qualities you look for when you're looking for a producer. Or was it like, it's Luke Laird, of course I'm going to work with him kind of thing?
mean, definitely a little bit of that for sure. But
yeah.
I think what like really like attracted me to Luke was like the first time that we wrote together. I was so nervous because it's Luke and like I'm such a fan of the songs he's written and the songs he's produced and the people that he works with. And I went into the studio and I was so nervous and I was just like, I have all these song ideas. Like, how can I like prove to you that I'm like worthy of being in the room with you right now? And he was so kind and so humble. And like, not only that, but this really stuck out to me. It's like, he took the time before the write to like create this little like track idea that he was like, this really reminded me of the songs that you've released. Like, I think we could write something to this and it would be really cool. And it was just amazing to me because I think a lot of the times I go into a room and feel like what I said, like, how can I prove to you that I'm worth your time? And there's so much of like a pitch of like, well, here's what I'm doing and here's my sound. And for someone to just say, I've already listened, I'm a fan, and I think we could do something really cool with this was really like inspiring to me. And the track was awesome. It was this loop for a song that I've released called Girl in a Bar. And yeah, it just was like such a welcoming environment. So I like reached out to him after the fact and was like, can we get coffee or breakfast sometime? I would love to pick your brain. Like I do tracks and stuff myself. I dabble in it. So I just wanted to like ask him more about it. And then I felt like we really connected over this coffee about music. And so I texted him like right after and was like, would you want to produce some songs for me? And he said yes. And a pandemic happened, but in between somewhere after that, we got to make some music together. So really cool.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yes. That is so awesome to like feel seen in that way.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you walk in and you're like nervous and not sure, some those internal thoughts of, do I belong here?
Yeah.
Am I good enough? And then to have someone like just validate you like that is so awesome.
Totally. Yeah, it's really, and like, especially him, I'm like, if like he has no reason, to do that. Like the dude's got so many number ones and like just an incredible accolade. So I'm like, you didn't have to pay attention to me at all, but like, you made me feel really seen. So that meant a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's so nice when you meet your heroes and they're good people,
So true.
Like, because it doesn't always happen. So that's awesome. No. And I always feel like it's like the people that are on top, like the top that are always very kind and humble. Yeah. But then it's the people that are like mid-level that just think they're hot shit. And you're like, you're such a dick. Yeah. You're a dick.
That is so like, real. That like, and that's been like so interesting to me to learn because I'm like going into college and moving to Nashville. Like I would not consider myself like a very bold or like confident person, and I would watch these people at like the mid-level or like even at like the starting baby level like myself be so confident and like sometimes like borderline rude, and I was like, gosh, like is that what you have to be in order to be successful? And then as I started to meet the people that were truly successful that weren't that at all, I was like, oh, you
Yeah.
just have to be a good person and work really hard and like trust that things are going to work out. So yeah, I'm very thankful for that in Luke and in a lot of my songwriting heroes that I've gotten to sit in the room with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Um, so speaking of like Nashville and the scene, what are your favorite and least favorite things about being a songwriter in Nashville?
Mm. Favorite things, I think the general like community of songwriters like is so it's so unique to Nashville, and it's so cool to me. And I don't think I realized that until I started touring and like seeing other cities that like there really is this deep community of songwriters that just love the song and love like a really good song. Like hit songs are awesome, but they're
Mm-hmm.
like, I still want to write the song that means something at the end of the day. So that's really cool to me. I love how small Nashville feels and that I mean, sometimes it's terrible because you see your ex at the grocery store or whatever, but like for the most part, it's like you just run into people you know out so often. Um, and then I guess my least favorite things if I could take Nashville and plop it into San Diego, I would probably do that. Like for me, it's just like I I guess like that you kind of have to be present to like be successful in Nashville, at least at the level that I'm at, where like I would love to live in San Diego and be closer to my family, but I don't feel like the job that I have and the community that it exists in, like is very like open to the like travel back and forth when you're still kind of trying to make it. I think like once people have
Mm-hmm.
like a number one or a few number ones under their belt, like it seems very a lot more feasible. But yeah, I wish it was closer to San Diego.
Yeah.
Yes, that is valid. And how long have you lived in Nashville for?
I've been here, it'll be 9 years in September. So
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a long time to be away from
Yeah.
family. Like especially that's a long
It's a
way.
long way. It is a long way. And I have this thing where anytime I go home, I'm like, it's just for 4 days. And then I just keep changing my flight. And I'm like, it's just 27 days. Like it's really bad. But yeah, it's hard, you
Yeah.
know, like I have a younger brother who's in LA and older sister who has babies and like they're growing up, and so to only
Mm-hmm.
catch those like glimpses of life like that is challenging for me, and it's something I really struggle with and I write a lot about, honestly. But you
Mm-hmm.
know, I got my 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, at least one of us
Yeah,
does, you know? I'm
that's
like,
the only thing on the 10-year plan. So other than that, I'm like, hopefully my cat is still alive because otherwise, like, I'm screwed. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Mood.
no. Yep. Yep. So during COVID, you talked a little bit about how that impacted, your recording. I mean, it impacted
yeah,
everything for everybody, I
yeah.
feel like. But you went on tour and did the Girl in a Backyard tour. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you came to plan that and get that all set up?
Yeah. So COVID shut venues down, and I had been building a following on Instagram and TikTok and Spotify, and I felt like at the beginning of 2020, like, oh, this is my year, which I think we kind of all did, funny enough. But like, you know,
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
literally like January 5th. I had gotten this call like, hey, do you want to go out on the road with Willie Nelson? Like, by the way, like Luke Laird is like down to produce your stuff. Like, it was just like, holy crap, like things are really like I see the runway finally. And
Mm-hmm.
then COVID happens, like it did to all of us. And I just like created and made music and then got to a point where I was like, I want to share this music with people in some way. And I really miss live music. And so I posted it on my socials and I was like, can I come play a show in your backyard? Like, I know we've never officially met before, but I
Yeah.
swear, like, I'm not a murderer, and I think it would be pretty fun. Um,
Yeah.
and people said yes. And like, I got like hundreds and hundreds of submissions of people across the country that were like, we miss live music so much. Like, we would love if you came and played the show. So, I got my like Excel spreadsheet skills on, and I just routed like 60 shows, and we went from like Napa Valley to like New York City to Atlanta, Georgia, and just literally showed up in people's backyards in my Toyota RAV4 and played shows and made friends and just hung out. It was really, really special to me. So, yeah, it was kind of a dream in a way. And like, it's been really cool now to see that transition as I start to play clubs and I open up for people in bigger venues. Like, those people that invited me to their backyard show up with their friends to the club show, and they show up for the show where I play for 20 minutes like before an opener. And it's so cool to me because I feel like I have genuine friends because of music, and that's such a gift.
Wow, that's so cool. So you drove like cross country, like back and forth and up and
So
down.
we did like we drove as far as I'm trying to think. I guess like Dallas was the furthest west, and then we flew to
Okay.
California, like rented like that we did,
Oh.
like
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Memorial Day weekend, and we had two big suitcases, merch, gear, guitars, and I booked this rental car, and we land in San Jose, California, and the rental car place was like, so we only have one car left. And it was this tiny, like Kia Note or something like that, like the smallest car I've ever seen. So we piled everything in there, and we just drove like down the coast of California, like, okay, this is touring, I guess.
Yes.
I love it.
That's awesome. You made the
Wow.
best of a bad
Yeah.
situation.
Really,
For
really,
sure.
I loved it. And to get to like see different parts of the country too was really cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love this question, and it is, if you could share a bill with any three artists, dead or alive,
Oh,
who would you choose?
wow. Okay. I probably Harry Styles, Taylor Swift, Kacey Musgraves.
Wow, love that. What a
I feel like
lineup. Who would headline?
Wow.
Obviously,
Yep.
would Taylor headline?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
And then
yeah.
and then Kacey,
And then
I'll
Kacey.
play in the parking lot, like,
Yeah.
Sure, I just want tickets.
You're
I
just
love
busking
how,
out
like,
front.
Yeah. I love how you were like, okay, yeah, I got it.
For
You're like, done.
I got it often, honestly. I think Harry Styles is like my absolute dream opening slot on a tour. So yeah, that one's just always
Mood.
yeah. And Taylor Swift.
I love that,
Yeah.
man.
He is.
So we've come to the final question of the podcast. After, going on tangents about, Rustin Kelly and Taylor Swift. But our final question is, why do you write songs?
Ooh. Therapy. I think I write songs because I love words and I love feelings, and like I'm very obsessed with the really complicated feelings that are really hard to talk about. I'm really bad at talking about my feelings, but like I can write about them in a song and feel like I have helped not only myself, but hopefully like my dream with my music is that someone who felt completely alone in a feeling feels a little less alone because they listened to one of my songs. So that's why I do it.
So the song that you're sharing today at the end of the episode is a Tears for Fears cover. How did you approach making it your own, and what made you choose that song?
So I love that song. It's like one of my favorites. Anytime I listen to the original version, I just feel like I'm in a movie, and I like to stare out the window and pretend. So I was like playing it on an Instagram live one time, and to get like music nerdy for a second, like the original version is in like a 12/8 time signature, so it's got that like and truthfully I could not play guitar like that, so I was just playing it like more of like a sad country girl version. And my boyfriend happened to be watching, and he was like, dude, that was like really cool, like that was like, I've never heard that song like that before. So we had a show that weekend and threw it into the set, and the dads who like to grill were all about it, and the girls who like to pretend they're in movies were also all about it. And yeah, I just like kept playing it, and it became a song that is just one of my favorites to play live. So I was like, well, why not like put it out? Like I my goal for myself in 2023 has been to not be as precious about music, because like if one person likes it, then there's probably like, then it's resonated with someone. So yeah, I just wanted to put it out because I loved it and was like, hopefully someone else likes it too. And I feel like it's been received well. So yeah.
This is Everybody Wants to Rule the World, originally by Tears for Fears, covered by Anna Vaus.
Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Even while you sleep, we will find you acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world. It's my own design. It's my own remorse. Help me to decide. Help me make the most of freedom and of pleasure. Nothing ever lasts forever. Everybody wants to rule the world. There's a room where the light won't find you. Holding hands while the walls come tumbling down. When they do, I'll be right beside you. So glad we almost made it. So sad they had to fade it. Everybody wants to rule. Everybody, everybody, everybody. Everybody wants to rule. I can't stand this indecision, married with a lack of vision. Everybody wants to rule. Say that you'll never, 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 never need it. One headline, why believe it? Everybody wants to rule. Everybody wants to rule. Everybody wants to rule the world. The world.